thought today I could talk about the divine feminine. And something you learn about the divine feminine is the divine feminine exists, or how much divine feminine power we have within us is how much we are willing to face and feel our pain. And the divine feminine exists in a in a ratio with the unconsciousness that lives within us. And the more we face and feel our unconsciousness, the more we are willing to welcome our unconsciousness without needing it to be something we need to change, something we need to fix, or something we need to stop from happening, right? Our thoughts are never harming anyone else. Our feelings are never, when they're inside of us, they're never harming anyone else, and they're not harming you. And nothing needs to be changed or to be fixed in regards to your internal experience. But the question is, can you fully face and feel your internal experience? Because the more you are willing to face and feel your pain, the less pain you have within you. That feeling is healing. And the divine feminine awakens within you, or you could also think of it as the void, right? In this universe, there is the void, which holds all of existence, and that's the feminine, or like the womb. And then there's the light, which which is the awareness of all that's been created. The light is what takes possibility and bursts it into creation, and that is the masculine. And when we are awakening the divine feminine, we are awakening the void within us, which usually feels like emptiness, spaciousness, nothing. It feels like nothing, which nothing is like just not relating to yourself or to others as things, but relating to people from the idea of the people that are in front of me. I am interested and curious about them rather than holding ideas about who they are or what they mean to me, right? Not relating to others as things, but relating to them as expressions of divinity that are constantly changing, constantly growing, constantly becoming new versions of themselves. Because even people that are shut down are still different from one moment to the next. Even the people who are unconscious are still changing slowly. And when we're relating to people from our ideas from them, we're relating to them from what we think about them rather than who they actually are. And it prevents us from actually getting to know people or showing people real curiosity and interest, which when we're curious into people or just ask questions about people is that's actually how you build connection with someone, is by being curious, is by showing them loving attention. And loving attention is curious in the people in front of it, is curious in itself. It's never relating to a person, whether you or another person, like it fully understands everything about that person, or it fully even understands everything about who you are. Because you aren't meant to fully understand everything about yourself. You're meant to go on a journey of exploration where you learn a little bit more about your essence, about how you show up in the world. But that is always changing. And the less you know about yourself, the less you think you know about others, the more you actually get to know others. And so when the divine feminine wakes up, it awakens nothingness, but nothingness is just relating to people around you or yourself as not a thing, which means like not a concept, not an idea, but it brings people into reality of what is actually in front of me. Who actually is this person? Who actually am I? What do I stand for? What do I value? And when I form relationships with people, can I make sure, like, in relation, if it's a romantic relationship, that our values are pretty much fully aligned, or if it's a or really, or if it's a friendship that our values are pretty close, or that we have some things that we both value, and it helps us relate to one another, because we don't have to, like, all oftentimes in spirituality, people tend to seek others that are exactly like them. And I'd say that is misguided, right? If you're looking for someone who has all the same interests in you, or even if you're a spiritual person looking for someone who has the exact same spiritual beliefs as you're oftentimes you'll just find people, like spiritual people who are looking for like-minded, oftentimes are will find people who are relating to others from their mind. In truth, we're not looking for like-minded, we're looking for like heart, which like heart is from what do I value in my life? If I value sobriety, can I find others that are sober? If I value playing, if I value being athletic, can I find friends that are athletic? If I value having vulnerable conversations with people, can I find people that are vulnerable? And that's what real friendship is built off of, is connections of the heart, which is, what does your heart value? Not what do you like to, not like what do you like to think about life? And can I find other people that think the exact same thing? Because communities are diverse, and your friends should be diverse. If you're constantly trying to relate to others as they have to be exactly like me, you're going to have a really hard time finding friends. And the more diverse your friend group is, the more fulfilling most likely those relationships are going to be, because then you're not eating like the same scoop of ice cream every time you go hang out with a friend. You're eating a bunch of different flavors, which is way more exciting. And so the feminine is the balancing of the mind. When the feminine wakes up, the feminine takes its love from its heart and it brings it up into the mind, and the mind starts to make up a lot less ideas about life and just starts to relate to life how actually it is, which means I'm showing greater curiosity and interest in the people in front of me and the experiences I'm having, rather than thinking I know everything about these people in front of me, rather than I think I know everything about life. And the more curious and interested I can be, the more I will actually learn from others, the more natural creativity and adaptability will waken up within me, and the more I'm going to have an easier time along my journey, because we get the most off track when we think we know things. And it's okay. We all have wisdom. It's okay to like study and research and learn. And maybe you do know some things, but I don't need to lead with what I know with. And like, people only need to know what I know if they ask questions about it, or if we're talking about a very similar subject where it would make sense for me to bring up something I know. Otherwise, can I just ask questions and be interested in them? Because we are fulfilled how we show up in relationships, not how the person shows up across from us. And if we want more people to ask questions about us, a good thing to lead with is to ask questions about them, and lead with how you would like people to interact with you. If you want people to tell you more often how beautiful or smart or intelligent you are, that's what you should be leading with in your relationships, even if they're friendships. And if it makes you uncomfortable, you can just say, hey, as a friend, I just want you to know how incredibly how incredibly awesome it is to be your friend, how beautiful I think you are as a person, how beautiful you are And whatever way you need to word it to help it either make it easier to receive or for you to feel more comfortable saying it, word it that way. Because the more you just affirm beauty, and if the more you put the word beauty in a sentence, even if you said someone's like a beautiful person, the more their mind is going to associate themselves as beautiful, and the more they are going to show up at them as their most beautiful, loving self in your relationship. And it's one of the most subtle ways to bring healing to the planet is to just help others feel better about themselves. Help your friends remember how incredible they are by telling them that they're incredible. Help people remember how much value and meaning they have in your life by telling them how much you value them in your life. Help people feel more gorgeous and stunning by just affirming, hey, you're a stunning person, and I'm so lucky to know you. And as we affirm that more with people, people will show up different in your relationships because the love you call out in another then helps them be a more loving self when they're with you. And that won't necessarily work if someone's abusive or neglectful or traumatic to, or like traumatizing you by how they're talking to you or how they're or the actions they take around you. If someone really feels like a not a safe person, that's someone you're meant to love from afar. And we're not meant to be best friends with everyone. And some people aren't going to be able to handle our loving presence, and that's our discernment to know. Let me spend time with people who can really receive this love. And if I say something like, hey, you're amazing, and someone takes that as misconstrued, and they think you're hitting on them, or they take it as this person's a weirdo and I don't want to be friends with them. That's fine. They're just saying, hey, I'm not ready to receive that type of love yet. And their no's will redirect you to someone that's a yes. And if they think you're hitting on them, that might just be a call for you to be a little bit more clear in your communication to say, hey, as a friend, I want to take a moment to just recognize how incredible you are, and I'm going to toss you some compliments, right? Sometimes you do need to communicate deeper and just help it clear, make it clear what your intention is, because consciousness always leads with clear intentions. And that's something I've learned as a human, like trying to subtly give people more compliments is like being more clear in my communication. And sometimes you're going to give some people some compliments and they're going to think you want something more than just friendship with them, and you have to be able to communicate clearly and say, oh, I just was interested in you as a friend. I was just giving you some compliments, right? If you're honest with people about your intentions, the people that are actually going to be able to meet you in friendship will understand. And if you're not honest, or if you're not communicating clearly, that's oftentimes when we get misunderstood the most. And to bring it back to the divine feminine, is the divine feminine brings its love up into the mind, and it actually helps balance out the mind and the heart. Your heart, if you felt your heart, I've talked about this before, but if you felt your heart is naturally open, spacious, and peaceful. And if you have a noisy mind, or your mind feels rather cluttered, or you feel like your attention's being pulled every 10 seconds, it's probably your mind craving the love and affection of its soulmate, which is the heart. And people put down their mind and go, oh, I have a monkey mind. I constantly judge people. My mind sucks. And it's like, can you love your mind exactly as it is? Because that's what the divine feminine would do. And that's what your mind needs to be quieter. It doesn't need to hear that it's a monkey mind or that it sucks or that it's awful. What it needs is your loving attention. And the more you take your love in your heart and you bring it up into your mind, and you can, I say this mantra quite, I do it when I feel like I need it, but it's a good one of like, my mind is of the purest divine love. My thoughts are of the purest divine grace. My fantasies are of the purest divine light. And I'll just repeat that over and over and over again. And if my mind's really feeling noisy or like judgy, it brings me right back to peace. It quiets my mind almost instantaneously. Because our mind, when it's noisy, is just craving your loving attention. And even if you just said, I love you, mind, thank you for all you think, thank you for all you fantasize. And I'd say doing it more than once, the more you do it, the more you're going to be pulling that love into your mind. Like a pulley system, every time you say, I love you, mind, a little bit more love from your heart. That's an endless well, gets pulled up into your mind. The more your mind is going to function from a place of love, the more your mind is going to function like a divine mind, the more you call out its divinity. And it's the same with your friendships. The more you call out how amazing and incredible your friends are, the more they're going to function from a more amazing, incredible space a little bit more often. And people change slowly, but it does change people for the better. And the more we encourage ourselves, the more we are pulling out our best attributes in every moment going forward. The more we encourage others, the more we're pulling out their best attributes. And as we learn to open up the void within us by facing and feeling our pain, what you learn about the void is when I am avoiding things, I'm avoiding the divine feminine power within me. When I'm avoiding my feelings, when I'm avoiding my thoughts, I'm acting from unconsciousness. When I'm trying to deny my internal experience and say, it's time to numb, it's time to not check out, it's time to watch 6 hours of Netflix. And it's okay if we do that. There's nothing wrong. We're all on a journey of healing. And I have had my own addictions. I still sometimes scroll on Instagram. I keep it deleted off my phone, which has been a huge help, but it still happens. And just a part of myself to love, not a part of myself to hate or beat up. But I'm not here to be some perfect I'm not a perfected being. I'm human. I'm still learning too. I'm not here to say that there's anything wrong with avoiding things, but avoidance is avoiding of your divine feminine power. And the more we enter sobriety, which is I am I am living a clean and clear life, and I'm letting go of the parts of myself that avoid connecting with myself. And as I connect with myself more, I remember more of my own personal power, more of my power to make choices that are going to be the most freeing for myself, or guide me to be the most authentic, real, loving version of myself, the more I feel connected to who I am rather than trying to avoid aspects of myself or avoid different feelings. Like the divine feminine relates to anxiety, despair, sadness, grief as going, I love you, anxiety. I love you, despair. I love you, sadness. I love you, grief. I love you, crazy fantasies. I love you, thoughts. I love you, cravings. I love you, judgments. I love you, distortions. And the more it loves, the more it awakens love within its own heart to fall in love with itself, to fall in love with life. And really, what you learn is I find greater wholeness in myself by my willingness to love my most fragmented parts back into wholeness, and taking the things that are most uncomfortable within me as the next part of myself to show loving attention. And the more I lead with that, the less I have desires to avoid anything in my life, because the more my uncomfortable feelings and thoughts become a gift by a reminder of to give myself more love rather than something that's not meant to be happening. And we are not taught how to relate to our emotions or mind that way, right? 99.8% of people are not taught to have a healthy relationship with all their emotions or a healthy relationship with how their mind works or to send their mind love. Right. A lot of times we pick up how our parents related to emotions, and pretty much everyone, our parents had certain emotions they either avoided or tried to run from. And then we grow up in adults and we play out those same patterns till we're ready to awaken the divine feminine with us, which goes, and usually we get to this point where we go, how I've been living life hasn't really been working, and my feelings have just been getting louder. My mind has just been getting more crazy, and I feel totally neurotic. And we go, what needs to change? And you realize I need to change, and I need to change how I relate to my feelings and my thoughts, and I need to start to feel. Stop trying to, and I need to move towards sobriety from trying to avoid anything. And the more I move away from avoidance, the more the void of peace, emptiness, and stillness awakens within me that returns me back to my center anytime something hard happens in my life, right? You will get to a point where life will be rather quite hard and you'll still feel deep peace within yourself by the time you've taken to face and feel any craziness that was created within you by your community or your upbringing. And you'll start to feel at peace no matter what's happening outside of you. And it won't necessarily mean I'm always at peace, but you'll be able to bring yourself back to peace, and you'll know how to care for yourself in a way that helps remind you of that peace, and that care is the divine feminine. When we feel crazy levels of anxiety or despair or grief, the divine feminine would say, what kind of care do I need to get through this? Do I need to take time expressing my shame, my guilt, my grief? Do I need to write poetry about it, sing songs about it, paint about it? Or do I just need to take some moments for rest and recovery? Oftentimes, we're the most likely to avoid or to numb and check out when we're exhausted. And do I just need more rest in this moment? Do I just need to take a bubble bath and play nice music, or take a little time to read a book or go do a workout? Whatever feels like it would bring the greatest balance to my life. Like I spent all day sitting, probably would mean I should go do some movement. If I've spent all day on my feet, probably would be a good time to sit and rest for a little. And the divine feminine flows in harmony, which harmony is balance. And I don't need to change and fix my outside experience, but I just need to be curious and interested in how I could adapt or change or grow to make this outside experience a little easier for me. Or if there is something, an action step I could take that would make my life a lot easier, can I work towards that? And that's the divine feminine. The divine feminine flows with life. It never tries to swim against the stream or try and change the whole direction of the current. Right? The divine feminine flows with the current, and if there's a giant log in 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 the stream, it learns how to kayak around it rather than trying to go over the log or whatever. And when we're thinking about the divine feminine is what will bring the greatest balance into your life. And it will do this through its care, encouragement, and love of you. And the more you care for yourself, the less and less you have any part of yourself that wants to not care for you or wants to check out with toxicity and avoid connecting with yourself. And we learn that my connection with myself, my willingness to care and nourish myself is actually what creates the greatest power, the greatest freedom within me. And it then inspires me to live a life that will grow into my greatest freedom and my greatest expression of authenticity, which is the freeness to be exactly as you are. Right? I don't have to hold myself back. I don't have to try and change and be different than how I am. And the divine feminine is what gets us there. And as we start to awaken the divine feminine, as we start to express more in art, which is taking our pain and turning it into beauty, which as you turn your pain into beauty outside of you, it also slowly turns your pain within you into beauty, turns your pain within you into emptiness, to stillness, to openness, to love. And love is openness and emptiness, and you're never doing anything wrong by feeling empty. It's actually you feeling the frequency of your soul. And people think that I'm depressed, or I am feeling all this emptiness and I'm doing something wrong, and it's actually them going through awakening of being more of aware of the peace and openness and stillness of their soul. And they're just so, and oftentimes we're a little used to stimulation, and we're a little used to constantly being mildly agitated, and we think that emptiness is wrong because it feels so foreign to us, but it feels like it could be something wrong because it is foreign. And the more we become familiar with it, the more we learn to sit in it, the more we remember it's a gift of peace. And as we use love as a reason to love ourselves more, love those around us more, and to not hold love for just when we feel love, but the more we can say, I love myself, the more we say, hey, I love you to our friends, to our family, to our pets, the more we're affirming the state of love within ourselves. And the more we'll naturally feel more love by our willingness to affirm it. A lot of people think I need to feel love in order to tell someone I love them. And it's actually the other way around. I need to say more often that I love myself, or I love my friends, or whatever you want to love, right? My pets, my life. The more you affirm I love this, the more you will feel love towards other people. And that's what really the awakening journey is affirming the words of encouragement, of love, of care to myself and to others. And the more I do that, the more natural peace, serenity, bliss, enlightenment awakens within me, because light is love. They're not separate experiences. And the more I affirm love for myself and others, the more light and awareness awakens within me, awakens and within my mind, and the more natural peace I find. And the more I'm willing to tell people that I love them, whether I feel that towards them or not, the more I will start to feel love in my heart grow, and the more I will fall in love with those around me, fall in love with my life. And you'll get to a point where you start to see everyone as beautiful. And when we get to that point, the question is, once I start to fall in love with life and the people around me, can I be discerning? And can I take things slowly? And if I'm craving a partner and craving physical intimacy, cravings, when we are craving something, it usually means we don't need that in that moment, right? If we're craving a partner, that's a time to sit with the craving. If we're craving with physical intimacy, we can always have a hormone release with ourselves. But that's usually a time not to go out seeking that, because really, when we're craving something, that's the feelings of codependency being for a partner, for physical intimacy, is the feelings of codependency being amplified within you. And as they're amplified, they're burning themselves out. Like the fastest way to heal any craving is just allow the fire of that craving to fully run, to burn itself out of fuel. And as we can rest in wholeness, which wholeness is, I might feel cravings and desires, but I don't need to act on them. And the truth is, I put myself out there without expecting this person to be my next romantic partnership. I get to know people, but I get to know people from complete curiosity and interest in going, no, in even if this person is really beautiful, even if this person is, oh my God, this person's very attractive. I get to know them from a place of I'm just getting to know them, not from I think this is my next partner. I think this is person we're going to be physically intimate and it's going to be awesome. And the more we can down our expectations, the more we'll actually be able to see people clearly. And can we be willing to move slowly? Because if you feel unsure if someone would work long term, you're only unsure because it either wouldn't work long term or you haven't taken enough time to get to know them. And there's never a reason to not know when we're thinking about dating people if it would work long term or not. If you just take more time to get to know someone and move slower, you will know whether it will work long term or not. But it takes time. And a lot of people want to rush the process, or they say, I don't know, but they have some nice qualities, so it's good enough. And they end up moving in relationships that are half casts or not quite with the right person than if they just had been a little bit more patient or a little bit more discerning. And the most meaningful relationship you will have, the universe will conspire to bring you two together and you will not be able to miss them. And if you feel like it's someone you can say no to and move on and live the rest of your life without knowing them, even if you miss them for a while, or even if you thought, dang, I wonder what would have happened. Right. If you can say no and move on from the person, they probably weren't the deepest relationship you could attract in that moment. And it might mean you spend a little bit more time alone, but you can think about dating people as like walking on a trail. And if you feel a craving of, I need a partner, let me go find that partner and find someone that's just close enough. And it's almost like you're stepping off the trail of the partnership that would actually be the most fulfilling for you. And you're doing this long roundabout and you find a person and you pause there for a little bit. And then maybe you break up with them and then you come all the way back around, but it was almost like twice as long or three times as long as it would have taken if you just had stayed on the trail and been willing to face your cravings, because your cravings is your codependency being healed out of you. It isn't something you need to act on, especially when it's, I'm craving a partner, I'm craving physical intimacy, right? The question is, how can I love and care for myself through these feelings, not let me listen to these feelings and go try and hunt my next soulmate. And as we're willing to be a little bit more discerning, when we're starting to see greater love and beauty with people, is when we're going to start to find we're having a lot more fulfilling relationships in our life. And oftentimes, like we can mess up a good friendship by trying to make it more than a friendship when it never might have quite, it was never going to quite work. And so the more discerning we are, the more fulfilling relationships we're actually going to have in our life, and the less confusing or complicated relationships we are going to have by our willingness to say, my cravings for sex are cravings I can meet in myself. My cravings for a partner are cravings that as they get burned out of me, I'm settling in greater wholeness. I'm settling in greater divine feminine power of finding balance between aloneness and spending time with others. That actually is going to be what will be the inner like way of relating to life that will actually attract a partner that we can have the greatest balance and harmony together with. So I hope that helps. Thank you for listening and have a great day.